Hello, my name is Osbaldo Fonseca, and today I'll be presenting my reflection on historical thinking skills and how I've learned to apply them. Sam Weinberg once said, "The study of history should be a mind-altering encounter that leaves one forever unable to consider the social world without asking the questions about where the claim comes from and who's making it and how time and place shape human behavior." To me, this quote means that history isn't just about memorizing events, it's about learning to ask questions where information comes from, who is presenting it, and why. History sparks curiosity and pushes us to dig deeper to understand people and events. Historians use five critical thinking skills to study the past and understand outcomes: inquiry based learning, chronological thinking, primary source analysis, historical empathy, and evidence based argumentation. Inquiry-based learning means starting with one big question and then breaking it down into smaller questions. For example, if we ask what event led to the American Revolution, we will need to understand the events that happened before and how they connected, who the key figures were, and their reasoning. We use documents and statements from time to help answer these main questions. Chronological thinking. Chronological thinking means looking at evidence in order they happen and seeing how one event causes another. For example, after the French and Indian War, Britain needed money, so they passed the Stamp Act in 1765. This angered colonists and led to the resentment that eventually caused the American Revolution. Another example is the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862. It freed enslaved people in the Confederate States and shifted the Civil War from just saving the Union to also ending slavery. After the war, this led to the 13th Amendment in 1865, which officially abolished slavery across the United States. Primary source analysis. Primary source analysis means checking the credibility of sources and seeing what they tell us about the past. For example, Thomas Paine's pamphlet, Common Sense, was published in 1776, just before the Declaration of Independence. It used plain language and biblical reference to persuade colonists to support independence. This shows how powerful it was in shaping public opinion. Another example is the Frederick Douglass 1852 speech, What the Slave Is, 4th of July. In it, Douglass praised the founding fathers but pointed out the hypocrisy of celebrating freedom while slavery still existed. This shows the moral and political tension in America before the Civil War began and gives insight into the abolitionist movement. Evidence-based argumentation. This means supporting your ideas with facts and credible source. For example, British taxation policies clearly influenced the colonial resistance. The Stamp Act of 1765 required colonies to pay taxes on paper goods, which caused protests and unity among the colonies. This proves the British policies were a major cause of the Revolution. Another example is the Emancipation Proclamation. It allowed black men to join the Union, and by the end of the war, nearly 1,800,000 African American soldiers had served. This weakened the Confederacy and gave the Union a new moral cause, proving that the proclamation changed the goals of the war. In conclusion, historical thinking skills are useful not only for studying history but also for everyday life and future careers. They help me recognize the bias when I read the news or social media, to help me see how small choices can have big consequences, and they train me to back up my ideas with evidence, whether in school, at work, or in daily decisions. Overall, these skills make me more thoughtful, aware, and prepared for the future. Thank you.